Hello and welcome to your digestion unit. I know that it's pretty straightforward. You can just read through the PowerPoint. It probably makes sense on its own. But I always find that it's a little bit better for learning when it's interactive. Well, me speaking to you, I know it's completely interactive, but just want to make little videos to go with them so you're not just reading and flipping through. We kind of feel like we're still doing it together even though you're doing this part on your own. So Unit 2B, digestion. Technically, we would have done this unit after we did the nutrition one, but we're doing them concurrently because you can see they are connected. Once we learn about how we break our food down into the different substances, then digestion just shows how those nutrients are absorbed out of our food, broken down, absorbed, and then released. So it's a pretty short, simple unit. It's basically a 4-lesson unit. So the first step when we eat, well, we talked about eating. When you eat is first you have to digest your food. So when you digestion is the process of breaking food down into simpler chemical compounds. Now there's different types of digestion we'll talk about right away. So what are the food molecules? So when you eat your breakfast, when you have your eggs and your bacon or your cereal and yogurt, the whole point of eating, remember we learned last unit, we're heterotrophs. We can't make our own food because we're living. One of the criteria is we need energy. So if we can't make our own food, then we have to eat food. And the whole reason why we eat is to get energy. That energy we use creates ATP that in our mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, operates our cellular respiration. So everything connects together that we learn. Okay, back to digestion. So the breakfast that you ate, or whenever you're watching this, lunch or supper, whatever time of day you're watching this, when you eat it, that the molecules in your food are going to get broken down into simpler molecules like carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. That's the nutrition unit we'll be doing in class. So once we've broken our food down into the carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, our body can then use those simpler compounds. So you have to break it down into simpler form your body can use. So there's two different types of digestion. There's mechanical and chemical. So mechanical, you're physically breaking down your food. Hopefully you are chewing your food. Hopefully you're not just eating it fat and swallowing it whole. You do need to take your time, slow down, physically chew your food, break it down. So your teeth, when you grind and chew your food, that's mechanical. You're taking it from bigger pieces into smaller pieces. So that's pretty straightforward, mechanical digestion. Also, there's some mechanical digestion in your stomach. Your stomach is lined with muscles, the churning of your stomach. That's also mechanical. So mechanical, you are physically breaking down the food from bigger pieces into smaller pieces. That's mechanical. And then there's chemical. So chemical is taking that bun that you ate from your burger or whatever and breaking it down into smaller chemicals like the carbohydrates, the lipids, the proteins. So chemical digestion is you're chemically breaking it down. So there's a couple things in our body that do that, the acids in our body and enzymes. We are learning about enzymes in the nutrition unit when you're here. So like I said, you might be studying some things that you haven't quite covered yet in nutrition, but it does all connect together. So when you eat, you have to physically break it down, mechanical digestion, and chemically break it down. Get into smaller pieces and then smaller chemical compounds. Absorption. So once it's been broken down into smaller pieces, into smaller chemicals, then your body can absorb it. Until this point, whatever you ate for breakfast, your eggs, your bacon, or the burger, until you absorb it, that food is of no value to you. Remember, we're heterotrophs. The reason we eat is we need to get energy from the food. So just chewing your food down doesn't actually help your body at all. The food you are eating has no value to your body until you actually absorb the nutrients out of the food you eat. So I think that's a question in one of your things. You don't actually use the food you've eaten until you're at this stage you absorb the nutrients out of it, which is why you should be making healthy food choices. You want to have nutrients in the food that you're eating that you can absorb to get into your body. If you're just eating junk food, you're breaking it down, but you're not gaining. There's no value to your body. So make healthy choices so the food you eat has the nutrients that your body can absorb and get out of your food. So the more you understand about biology, connects to your phys ed class. You'll make better choices and healthier choices when you're eating, when you understand why we're eating and how you use it and the value of it. So absorption is when you get the nutrients and compounds out of the food you ate into the body. This happens in the intestine. And then after you absorb the nutrients out, so basically the whole point of eating, there's four parts. First, you physically break it down into smaller pieces. Hopefully you chew your food. Then your body chemically breaks it down into the carbohydrates, lipids, proteins you can use. Then your body absorbs whatever it can out of the healthy food you're eating. And then after it's absorbed the nutrients, the rest of it is of no value to your body. So after it's absorbed the nutrients out, The rest of it just gets rid of it. It releases. That's waste. So we are grade 11 biology. We can be mature. We can say words like rectum without laughing. So whatever, you absorb what you need, and then all the rest is waste, and your body gets out of it. So that's basically it to digestion. You break it down physically, chemically, absorb what you need, and get rid of what you don't. Very simple and very efficient system. So I do have some fun facts. We've been talking about bilirubin. That's a brown substance that comes from the breakdown of old blood cells in the liver, and that gives feces its normal color. So we don't have time to talk about all this, but if you go to the doctor, for certain tests, they will ask for a stool sample. So when you look at someone's stool, I know it sounds gross, but this is biology, and if you're planning to go into medicine, your feces can give a lot of indication of what's going in the body, about what color it is, and different samples and sizes and texture. So yeah, that's the fun part about going into medicine. Modern toilets are not ideally designed for their purpose. So in North America, the sit-down toilets is not efficient. Squatting is actually the best position for the body to be in when passing stool. So a couple years ago, we did a school trip to China. I led a school trip to China, and when we were in China, it's squat toilets. Not everywhere. Our hotel had the modern North American toilets, but pretty much everywhere we traveled in China, it's the squat toilet. So to us, that seems a little different, but that's actually more efficient. So there you go. That's your fun fact of the day. Okay, so that's kind of it to digestion. Then we have some accessory structures. So accessory means that they're not directly part of the digestive system. They are attached off to the side, but they're still involved in it. So the accessory structures, there's three of them: the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. So we're going to talk about the liver a couple times. It's connected, like I said, a lot of organs play different roles in different systems. So we're just going to look at them one at a time, but realize we're all connected. Homeostasis, everything works together. So the liver produces something called bile. Bile emulsifies fats and oils. When we get to lab 12, we'll talk about that in more detail. The gallbladder, it's a sac that stores excess bile. And like I said, we just talked about bile emulsifies fat and oils. Probably the only time you've heard about is when someone has had gallbladder surgery. So sometimes people have problems with their gallbladder, and then they have to have it removed. Pancreas produces many types of enzymes that break down proteins, lipids, and starches. Very, very important organ. So we call them accessory structures. They're not, food doesn't actually pass through them. The food goes through the digestive system. Food doesn't go through them, but they are off to the side and are involved in this whole process of digestion. And all three release their, I don't know how much you can see, I know it's not ideal, but you've got the PowerPoints at home. All three release their secretions at the top of the small intestine. So that's where they combine or join with. Fun fact, oh, here's a pleasant thought. Hopefully you're not reading this first thing in the morning. If you've ever thrown up green vomit, that comes from the bile, which comes up only when nothing else is left. I had food poisoning once, and yeah, not to be gross, but sometimes you get sick and you throw up, and if you keep throwing up and there's no food left and your body's still trying to throw up, well, then you've gone into the bile. So there you go, fun fact of the day. I know, it's gross, but this is biology. This is why you took it. It's human anatomy. We're mature enough to talk about these things. Okay, like I said, those are the structures. You'll be doing some labeling of diagrams as you go through the worksheets. Okay, and then there are other structures, the epiglottis. So the epiglottis is a flap of tissue that directs food into the esophagus. So as you study, you've got your esophagus and you've got your trachea. So food should go down the esophagus, air should go down the trachea, but they're very, very close. So sometimes if you've ever eaten too fast and you're in a rush and you start to choke, sometimes you might hear you say food went down the wrong pipe. Yeah, you don't want food in your respiratory system, you want food in your digestive system. So you have an epiglottis. It's kind of like a little flap or like a little gate at the top to make sure food goes down to the digestive system and only air into the respiratory system. So we're designed phenomenally. I know how some people say, oh, you can't believe in science and you can't believe in God. The more you study the body, like, it's fascinating. We are designed so perfectly. It's amazing. The more you learn about the body, like, wow, science is amazing. We are perfectly designed. Okay, back to our fun facts. It takes 7 seconds for a piece of food to reach your stomach after you swallow it. Okay, so you can time yourself. You can't actually see it or feel it, but next time you eat, after you chew, count 7 seconds after you swallow, and then it should already be in your stomach. There you go, that's your homework. Vomit. Oh, again, here's some fun facts, and what a nice morning class for you. Vomit is a mixture of half digested food, stomach mucus, saliva, and gastric acid. There you go. So the next time when you're sick and throwing up, you can stop and go, oh, this is a fun fact from bio class. And you swallow about 300 times during a meal. Never counted. There you go. Those are your fun facts as you eat. So there's so much going on when you eat. Hopefully you're not just like eating really fast. Like, all of this is happening in your body. Amazing. Appendix, again, probably the only time you talk about the appendix is when you have it removed. I had my appendix removed when I was 21. I had appendicitis. If you feel sick, you should go to the hospital right away. It took me 3 days and my appendix almost burst, and that's quite serious because then you have a bacterial infection everywhere. But obviously I got there in time. I'm okay. I'm here today. But the appendix, it's non-functional. So it used to have a function in the past, but not anymore. Take Bio40S to find that out. We talk about the appendix when we look at evolutionary structures. So take Bio40S to find out why it's non-functional, why we still have it. But it's found between the small and the large intestine. Basically, like the gallbladder, the only time you hear about it is when someone has an appendicitis attack. So, like I said, I had mine removed. I'm fine. It's the only time you talk about it. Okay, so that's, like I said, you've got the notes, but I just wanted to add a little bit more. So your homework assignment today is 9-2, Anatomy of the Human Digestive System. You just read through, they said read the text. The text means the worksheet, not a textbook. It's pretty straightforward. You fill in the blank, you label it. I know that those worksheets are simple, but I feel like it's effective. It's a little workbook I found that's all about human anatomy, and it covers everything so simply, so perfectly, and I think it gives you a good sense of the digestive system. And I don't know, hopefully this is appropriate. I think this is really funny. I read a book about the digestive system. The ending was crap. Come on, that's funny. And non-essential organ supports group. It's got the appendix in there. Hi, my name is Appendix, and sometimes I get so angry I could burst. Kind of funny. Okay, you have a purpose. And again, we'll talk about these other organs in grade 12 Bio40S. So there's the appendix for you. Okay, so good luck. I know this is a little bit different for the next month, where at home you do the digestive system, at school you do nutrition. So you might not have covered things like enzymes and lipids yet at a certain point, but by the time you've covered it, it all will connect together. And I know you're really strong class and strong group, so you guys will be fine with this concurrent learning of the 2 units. Okay, good luck on 9-2.